What would you do if you woke up tomorrow and your Google business profile was gone? Or imagine you spent years accumulating 400 reviews and they just vanish overnight. This is happening right now, and most of the businesses that are affected didn't break the rules that they actually thought mattered. Today, we're going to be exposing Google business profile violations that Google actually punishes, the ones that they don't necessarily clearly warn you about, but the ones that you're quietly risking without realizing it and can wipe out your visibility overnight. If you rely on Google for leads, specifically your Google business profile, you're going to want to hear this before this happens to you. Now, of course, to join me, I chose no one other than Ben Fisher, who is, I would say, one of the top, if not the top expert when it comes to dealing with Google business profile suspensions. He's seen it all and a lot of it. Ben, just feel free to welcome yourself and tell everyone just a little bit about you.
Sure. Hey, Joy. Good to
Hi.
see you. Little known fact, everybody. Joy was actually one of my mentors when I was just going through the PE program. There's actually a whole story there behind a suspension, actually, which we can talk about later. It was an interesting one. Anyway, yeah, I guess I've done a little bit when it comes to suspension work. I think I'm close to around 7,000, something like that.
Wow. That is actually wild.
It's and that's not even counting what the company does as well, and all the PE work. Yeah, it's crazy. And when you get into that number of suspensions, you kind of get this, I guess you could call it a moment of clarity, where everything kind of fades away and all the questions go away, and you get to see it from a 10,000-foot view and go, this is exactly what is happening. And when somebody just literally somebody opens their mouth and goes, okay, let me stop you right there. I know exactly what you're about to say. You had 1,000 5-star perfect reviews. You pay Google $10 million per day, whatever the case may be. You've been in business for 50 years at the same place. And you've had a Google business profile, you'll call it Shambi though, for 20 years. By the way, they didn't have them 20 years ago. Anyway, but that's what you'll say. Because this is pretty much what 9 out of 10 people do say when they're suspended. And then they usually will follow that up with, hi, Susan. They will usually follow that up with, I'm going out of business tomorrow. I'm going to be firing everybody next week. My kids can't go to school. Whatever. My wife is pregnant. All the excuses will go on and on and on. And what's going to happen is going to go on and on and on. Can't pay my mortgage. I can't put food on my table. Yada. It gets very dramatic. And but it gets dramatic for that reason that you stated in the beginning, and that is that your business is on the line. Because we have to be fair, and that is that 9 out of 10 businesses, and I don't think that's an exaggeration, 9 out of 10 businesses do not have a backup plan. And on top of the backup plan, whether it be a financial backup plan or a business backup plan or whatever the case may be, they don't have a backup plan when it comes to marketing. So they're not in multiple areas. They're relying just on the Google basket, basically. And so when that basket goes away, yes, obviously your business is in trouble at that point. So I guess that's a really long way of saying, yes, I know a little bit about suspensions. My company is a local SEO company. We do everything except pay-per-click. We specialize in, of course, as you would assume, reinstatements and suspensions. We do a lot of spam fighting. Joy and I were talking about this actually just before we came in here. 50%, yay. We do a lot of the local service ads area. We're one of the larger agencies in there, just like yourself, Joy. And also, we, of course, do local SEO, and we do AI as well. We do foundational AI, reputation management. So with that, over to you, Troy. What do you want to talk about next?
Yeah, so I have a lot of stuff to talk about today, but I just want to let everyone know, if you have questions for Ben or myself, feel free to put them in the comments. We want to prioritize, obviously, your questions over anything that I've prepared. Also, if you have a business that's been suspended or you're dealing with some type of policy violation when it comes to business profiles and you'd like us to take a look at it live, please list your business name, your address, if that's possible, or at least the city. And we'll do our best to try and figure out maybe what is holding you back. I'm happy to do some live audits if we have the ability to. So feel free to put that in the comments and we will take a look at those. I want to start by talking about reviews.
Oh,
So
okay.
Google, yeah, I know
Fun.
there's a lot of things I have on the list. So Google rolled out review blocks in the United States. It either was last year or the year before, and everyone thought that fake reviews were going to finally stop. They were thought that this was going to be the solution to Google's fake review problem. So the question for you is, what actually changed when they rolled this out, and has it actually helped anything?
Okay, so I would have to say, based on the data and a lot of us doing testing, is that the biggest change is that review frequency seems to be the leading indicator for losing reviews today. And I say today because, of course, that'll change in 2 months. Um, the badge of shame that rolled out in November of last year. It was tested 4 months prior to that, I believe, in the UK. I actually haven't seen a lot of the badge of shame. Have you?
No, and this is where
No.
I was like, okay, I've seen it on maybe 2 listings. We manage a lot of, like, listings for big chains and big companies, so,
Yeah.
like, they'll have, like, 1 or 2 of the locations get it, and they find out that, that particular business, for the most part, was incentivizing reviews. And I will say incentivizing reviews is something that
Yeah.
Google can, I think their systems do have a way to catch it. Like, there's certain patterns that they look for, and, it's something they're trying to do at scale, but they're not doing it very well.
Yeah.
Like,
And historically, they haven't done any of this very well, right? I mean, we've seen so many different sweeps that they've done with reviews over the years, where we have remember the review apocalypse? That was what,
mhm,
2 years ago, something like that? When people were losing reviews at an amazing pace.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
kinda scary
So,
though.
well, yeah, but I think velocity is what I guess really I've seen in this latest batch is what's affecting it the most. And what I mean by that is you're going out, you send out an email through your CRM or whatever the case may be, and you're getting 100 reviews an hour, or something like that. Of course, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but you're getting a lot of reviews more than you normally would. And so Google's going to look at that as, basically, okay, so this is obviously fake engagement, or the AI figures that out and slowly goes ahead and peels those reviews away from you on a daily basis until the AI thinks that you've kind of learned your lesson, I guess. Or at least has removed just whatever reviews they feel are in violation. And so, of course, the merchant on the flip side of that, you feel like you're being penalized. You don't know why this is happening, mostly because, come on, let's look at the reality. It's your marketing people that are doing this, not you. And so you feel like everything's perfect, but Google's going to get rid of them, and they're going to take them away. And what we have found out is that the ability to get those back is very, very small. It's like
Mm.
even going through an escalation path, it's extremely small. Um, it's just about as successful as getting reviews back from a listing where you've had to make a new one and you were suspended previously. It's yeah, it just almost doesn't happen. Basically, when we tell our clients and we tell people in the forums, it's like, I'm sorry, but this is probably not going to work. We can try.
So to clarify what we're talking about here, the badge of shame is a label that your listing gets. So if you get caught with fake reviews, they put a label on your listing that says this business has had suspicious reviews or something along that lines. It lasts for 30 days, and then they take it off and you're back to normal. Like, it doesn't really appear to be that harsh of a penalty.
Well, yeah,
Um, yeah. So that one is, I don't know, it's just kind of like a flunk. It wasn't as great or as much of a fix to the problem as I thought it was going to be. I was blissfully hopeful. Maybe that was naive, but okay. You're saying that the
I think.
automatic takedowns, however, are something that Google's getting better at. Like, if you're buying fake reviews, they're getting better at just not publishing them.
Well, yeah, exactly. So just to cap off the badge of shame thing, yes, I agree with you. I think the penalty is very low. I think it should be increased. If the detection is there, I think that badge of shame should stay for more than 30 days, because currently it's only 30 days. And you can appeal it right away. I love the fact that you can appeal it right away. That's great. But 30 days? Come on. I've seen them turn off reviews for 6 months for lesser infractions.
So I want to talk about that, because
Sure.
that was one of the things that led me to actually want to have you on here. There have been a few businesses I know that I've tracked, and I know you have some as well, who have had reviews shut off for like a great amount of time. Like you said, 6 months, 8 months, like some of them are wildly long. So I want to dig into like, what is the difference between that type of review block where your reviews are shut off like for an amount of time that would actually damage you versus just like getting a little slap on the wrist, getting a label, having no reviews for 30 days and then back to normal? What is the difference between those two violations?
We'll talk about somebody we both know. I'm not going to say the names, but so they basically had purchased a service where somebody would, in a sense, what I deducted is that they had somebody who came in and tried to brute force remove 2 reviews. One got removed. The moment that review was removed, the block was put in place. They didn't know that because they don't get a notification on this. They just notice that they can't reply to the review. They can't make any new reviews. They can't do anything with the reviews. They could still post photos. So it's not a full content moderation, but it's pretty darn close. And they're still going through this today. And that was for trying to get 1 review removed.
How long has it been now? I'm trying to remember how long. This was a couple months ago, right? So it's been 3 months. Okay. So if I was to go try and leave this business a review as a customer, would it look like everything's normal? My review just wouldn't show up everywhere?
Correct.
That is wild. Yeah. Okay.
And these won't come back. They won't come back. Anything that's being left right now, it's not going to come back.
Right. And I saw this happen to a lawyer. I think his listing was 8 months maybe or longer that he couldn't get a single new review. And I will tell you, those types of penalties are crazy damaging because if you don't get new reviews for 8 months, that is a bad ranking signal. Like certainly something I would stress about, unlike the little slap on the wrist that probably isn't going to really do anything long term. I do think having your reviews turned off for a long period of time is bad.
It is.
So negative review removal services. Let's talk about these. These things are so hot. I have talked to so many people who are totally fine doing this. And I don't know where I stand because part of me is like, there's so many fake reviews. I've seen so many businesses get damaged by fake negative reviews that I think it's great that these services exist. But you're talking about risks that I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about. Have you ever seen this before, or was this the first case?
I would have to admit, I think this is the first case. The first one where I can nail it down through enough questioning to get to a point where like, okay, it has to be this. There's no other thing that makes any other sense at all. You know?
Okay. And when you talk to Google support, what would they say to you? If you're like, hey, I can't get new reviews, what would their standard response be?
No, their response actually was, sorry, we've noticed odd behavior on your, basically in a roundabout way. The template I'm talking about.
Yep.
But yeah, we've seen this, and we have to protect our users, and we have to protect you. So therefore, you cannot get any reviews. Basically, it doesn't say anything about explicitly a period of time or anything like that. It's just a straight up, sorry, you are SOL. We can't do anything to help you.
Now, part of me thinks, like, this is terrifying if this is a thing, because how do you keep negative SEO from happening here, right? Like, if that's all it takes, what would stop somebody from going and hiring a reputation company to do this to one of their competitors? Like, let's just go report one of your negative reviews 600 times with 600 different accounts. And right? Do you see where I'm going with this?
No, trust me. I know exactly where you're going with this. I think what we should do is we should hire that woman who took all of those phones to the UK to generate all those fake traffic signals. And we should have her go ahead and brute force the reviews.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't necessarily suggest hiring her to, sabotage
I know, I'm just
anybody. But yeah, actually, if anybody could, actually, I remember Holly Starks is who you're talking about. She was at a conference I was at about a year or two ago. And I remember her telling me that she actually tried to do this through positive reviews. I don't know if she's ever tried it the way you're describing it, but she's like, I left so many positive reviews, like thousands of positive reviews on a business, wondering if there was like any penalty that they would get for just the sheer volume. She's like, it didn't do anything other than like the reviews on public. I was like, that's hilarious. So that would be a great thing to run by Holly. I will message her and see if she knows anything about this, because again, she's tested things at scale that I would catch with a 10-foot pole. But she knows a lot, and yeah, that'd be interesting to find out.
I think in general that you're correct, right? I mean, if you have somebody who's a black hat type of person or entity, kind of like we see it a lot in the locksmith space, of course. Yeah, they could definitely do it.
Okay.
I remember running into this. This is a different way of abusing the system, but I think we both are very familiar with it. Any kind of engagement type of hacking, right? Where you have somebody like this guy we ran into at Localu one year. I forget his name, but he had an engagement service where it would literally send driving directions to your GBP or click on photos in a rapid succession. Like people are actually looking at them. Yeah, I've run into like 5 scenarios where that guy has gotten somebody blacklisted, not suspended. We're talking blacklisted, which is a total another level of suspension. You
Okay.
probably haven't run into a lot of these, by the way, but it happens.
Table that. We're going to talk about that.
Okay.
But please come back to that. I want to discuss that. I want to make sure I address some of these questions related to this review violation first.
Yeah. Go
Okay.
for it.
So
Okay.
let's, first of all, this is a great question. How would you even know reviews are shut off?
Yeah. So the most common way you'll know it is that customers are really, really good at letting you know they left a review and it didn't show up. And also on the flip side, they're just good at letting you know they left a review. So what do you do immediately when somebody says, I left you a review? I need to go read this review, right? Of course. And then you go and it's like, what? It's not there. It's got to be their fault, right? They didn't leave the review right. They go and they look at it and they're like, nope, here it is, screenshot. So that conversation is exactly what ends up happening. And you get it. And so they can see it. You can't see it. That basically means that your reviews may be shut off. And so that's the first part of debugging it. The second part is call up a friend, family, whatever. Leave me a review, please. They leave a review. Again, it doesn't show. Now you're starting to get scared. Now go back to your last review that you got. Try to reply to it. If you cannot reply to it, and it usually will actually give you a warning, actually, that you cannot reply to this after you've tried. Now your review, you know it. Your reviews are basically shut off at this point.
Got it. Yeah, I would say also if you just stop getting the notifications, like usually get email notifications for new reviews. If you stop seeing those come in when you're used to getting like one a day, that could be another way to know, right?
Sure.
What is considered a fake review, just so we can define it?
Oh, this is such a good one. Okay, so usually when somebody gets a review they don't agree with, they'll say, oh, I looked through my entire customer database. I can't find anybody. And so therefore, this must be a fake review. It's not always the case. But regardless, it kind of doesn't matter. So if it's a review, you can't find somebody associated with it, fine. But more importantly, it's like if you need to start looking at other signals because that's what Google looks at. So for instance, one signal you might look at is you might go to look at the user's profile and have they left reviews in your area for the similar types of businesses? Okay. Are they leaving, say 5-star reviews for this 4 companies over here and a 1-star review for you, or vice versa, 4 1-stars and 1 5-star? Are they from Pakistan, Singapore, etc.? China, whatever, other parts of the country. And they just so happen to leave a review for you and maybe a couple other garage door companies, say all over the country. Well, those are indicators that it's probably going to end up being a fake review. We have seen fake reviews in the past that are kind of weird, like 4-star fake reviews. Those were very interesting. I think that's happened, twice in the past couple of years. Where somebody will be bombarding fake reviews, 4 stars all over the place. But again, it's all over the place. The geolocation is all over the place. So that's usually a fake review as well. Just because somebody had a bad experience with you does not mean it's a fake review. You can still report it if you really want to, but otherwise, it's probably going to be a legitimate review. I say go ahead and flag it and let Google figure it out. It's their system, so.
Yeah. Are there any tools or processes that people can kind of use that will help them determine whether or not it's likely Google's going to take it down?
I believe Transparency actually has a really killer tool set to either flag like people who will leave negative reviews most likely, as well as what the chances of reviews being fake all over your profile or a competitor's profile.
All right, I got one more review question, then I'm going to move to a different topic. Client got 150 reviews in 60 days by selecting them at shows and rankings dropped. Very unnatural pace for their industry. I will just go ahead and say that I do not think the ranking drop had anything to do with the reviews. But Ben, what's your thought?
No, I can 100% agree with that.
Yeah. I will say there has been a lot of turbulence lately. So with local pack rankings specifically, I've been hearing like last week or two. So on the local search forum, I think there's actually a thread about it right now. If you want to jump over there and add your examples, I like asking people for examples so I can try and track trends. What I was noticing the other day when I was looking at a few is that for implicit queries or what we call, non-geo-modified terms. So for example, plumber or dentist or roofer, those are all like implicit queries. They don't have a city on them. I was noticing that in scans in the last couple weeks, the radius has shrunk quite a bit. So how far away you rank has shrunk quite a bit. No idea if that is like here to stay. A lot of people are saying it's like down then up and down then up, right? And I'm not actually scanning these daily, so I'm not sure if they are changing rapidly every day at the moment. But certainly there are a lot of people that are experiencing huge ranking fluctuations in the last week or two. So my advice would be to wait it out and see what settles. Anytime Google's doing like a big update, usually there's like ups and downs, and then like a week or two, you're good, and you can actually look to see what's going on.
Yeah, I've got a situation I'm tracking right now. I don't know if you're seeing it or not, but some PIs out of California are starting to say their map packs are completely disappearing on mobile, like 100%.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Are you seeing it too?
Yeah. So Google has I think it was actually, so one of the biggest things that Google just nailed at the end of January is what we called self-serving listicles. And I know we actually have a couple clients that have them. Yeah. So to be clear, I'm on the fence on whether I think this is a good or bad strategy. I'm like, it's a little self-promotional. What I'm referring to is you have a page on your website that's like the best personal injury lawyers in Las Vegas, and you list yourself first on that list. And it's on your website. So it's a listicle, a list of, personal injury lawyers, but you list yourself first. And certainly I can see why Google shouldn't rank something like that. I get it. But it also has worked phenomenally for quite a while. So I think their most recent update, Lily Ray did an article about it, is kind of targeting that. I have not looked to see what the impact is for local pack rankings, if any, but I'm seeing a lot of organic changes because of that, where Google is trying to basically hit sites that are doing that type of practice. And they're not necessarily hitting the whole site, to be clear, but the page itself just disappears.
Yeah. I have some thoughts on that. Listicles are basically, in my opinion, a no-no.
Okay.
They are absolutely poisoning the AI ecosystem at the moment.
They work so well, though.
For the moment. So let me give you a reason why, okay? And that'll make you probably think about this. So, right? And if you don't know in the audience, I used to work in the web hosting industry as one of the leading SEO companies for companies like GoDaddy, et cetera, back in the day. I worked with them all. This was back in the day of mat cuts, okay? And so one of the things that worked really well in the hosting industry was to create a list of the top 10 web hosting providers. And then you would go ahead, you would SEO the heck out of that, because they would, of course, be number one. So it's the same concept. It's a listicle, right? And they would rank number one for best hosting provider or best web hosting company, website hosting company, whatever. Matt did an experiment on them for over 4 years, okay, where he basically left them up. And because he wanted to see what they did. He wanted to basically, in a sense, what he told me at least was, he wanted to go ahead and train the algorithm to automatically detect these and then automatically penalize them as well. Listicles disappeared after 6 years, basically, because they had turned something on that completely nuked every single one of them. So I would be really careful. The listicles that I've seen is people actually putting them on their domain name. So let's say they're a software company, best 10, SEO ranking software or whatever. Yeah, your domain name will end up getting hit and penalized completely, basically. So if you're going to do listicles, don't want your domain name. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, actually, with third-party sites, I've been really trying to analyze some that are working really well, and ones that are not. And I actually tweeted this out yesterday, and it was an interesting example. But whatever expertise.com did, and I've not dug into their site, okay, they'd be a great one to analyze because they have tanked in the last year. Like I used to see them ranking everywhere, all over the search results for all kinds of local queries. Not sure why they tanked. I have not looked into this at all, but they have tanked. Like they're nowhere. Whereas another one that I was looking at that is the opposite trend is bestlawfirms.com. And they are connected with bestlawyers.com. It's the same like network, but they're 2 different sites. And the bestlawfirms.com domain has really increased in relevance in the last year. So those are 2 examples if you like digging into other sites. I prefer to look into sites that I have actual access to, but those 2 are like wildly different trends. Like one is like going way up and the other is going way down. And anyways, yeah, there's a lot going on right now. So I will say with local pack rankings, they have been not so much like crazy. Well, the last couple of weeks have been crazy, but like you said, Ben, where they appear is what is massively changing. So you could have the best local pack rankings in the world, but then Google comes in and strips out the call buttons on mobile and switches them to images. We're seeing that all over the place for all kinds of industries, like home services across the board, lawyers, tons of them got this format in the last like 3-4 months. And then also, like you mentioned, local pack listings is gone. So this was one of the things I noticed for a lawyer I was looking at this morning, and the query was like best personal injury lawyers in a city. And typically one you would always get local packs on, like you said, gone. Like they're all strictly organic now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's here to stay, but really interesting.
Well, this one has been that I've been monitoring has been going on now for over 2.5 months.
Yeah. It's been going on for several months in the legal industry. It started like fall, where they started messing around with search results, and they introduced AI local packs as well, which are pretty common for most legal queries all over the US, only on mobile. And that's another one that's just like awful for if you're tracking clicks to call, that graph does not look great.
It's going to be very interesting. This year in general, I think it's going to be very interesting. I think we have maybe a maximum of like a year or so left before we go full on AI mode. That's my prediction. I could be wrong, but it's going to be very interesting. The entire local SEO space, how it adapts to these missing features.
AI mode is pretty cool. I will say AI mode is easier to manipulate than regular Google search, which is both great and concerning at the same time. But I've been doing what is difficult is tracking, right? So I think manipulating AI mode, totally doable from an SEO perspective. This is where I would say listicles, honestly, are like, they're not going to, I agree with you. I do not think they're going to work as well as they work today in a year from now. But right now, I can tell you that they have a huge influence on AI results. And so that's something that we're kind of tracking as a trend. AI mode is great. It is brutal to track. I don't know how marketers are going to track this. That is the challenge. So I think it's more important than ever to do call tracking because that is the one thing that will work. If you have a call tracking number on your business profile, guess what? You will still be able to track those calls. You're fine. If you're not doing call tracking, I really do think you're going to need to do that to have any clue where your calls are coming from. Because I don't think they're going to show up necessarily in the GBP dashboard anymore as much. TJ agrees with you on this year. That'll be an interesting prediction. It is actually, as much as I'm like, the tracking part of it kills me because I'm like, rank trackers, like what is going to happen to grid trackers with AI?
They're gonna go out of business.
Well, like this is what I'm saying. I'm obsessed with them for measuring, not for anything else, which is what I'm doing testing and stuff. I love my grid trackers. So I'm like, I don't
used to it, Joy.
I know. I'll get over it.
Get used to it. It's going to change. We have to adapt to it. You got no choice.
Okay.
And you know what? The grid trackers are going to have to change the way they do things too, actually.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to. That was a great comment. Richard, put that back on the screen. TJ, I met TJ, I think at Marie Haynes's house last year. Great guy. And big on AI. So I'm going to have to check out that tool. I've never even heard of it. So somebody document that on my team. I want to look at that later. Yeah, AI tracking is a big problem. Not what we're here to talk about today, though. So I want to come back
I've seen this kind of thing before. Anyway.
Okay. I want to come back
okay.
to our main topic. Okay, we have people that are submitting some suspension cases they want you to look at. However, I don't think any of them have enough information for us to find the business. So, Susan, I don't need a business ID. I need like a business name and the address.
Actually,
and
that may or may not help, to be honest with you.
Fair. At least that, minimum of that. There was another one that submitted a profile in Keswick, Ontario, which is hilarious because I grew up there. So shout out to Keswick, tiny little town in Ontario. So that one in Keswick, again, need the business name. I can't do anything with a profile ID. So if you guys can provide those two things, I'm going to unflag these comments.
Actually,
please put the business name address.
If they are willing to answer questions in real time, we can help.
Yeah,
but
sure.
You have to get them to go in the chat and say, I will answer in real time, and then we can help.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think both of them are pretty active in the comments here. I would love to, I would love to actually do a few of these live. Okay.
By the way, people in there are questioning Noah, basically saying that Google stacking does not work. I'm sorry, I'm going to back Noah up on this. Google stacking, don't waste 5 to 20 minutes of your life. How's that?
Okay. Well, okay. All right. You really want to talk about map stacking?
Sure.
Can we define what it is? Because this is where I think it will actually matter on whether or not it works. What is map stacking, first of all? Like that is
so Google map stacking is the theory, at least in my mind, is where they're using multiple Google products to try and basically manipulate ranking. So what is your definition of map stacking?
So I'm going to give you a contrarian approach to this. This is not something I do, first of all, and I wouldn't suggest doing it. However, whether or not it works, I'm on the fence because I've actually seen examples where it works. Okay. We actually tracked a case where it worked. We saw a Google site ranking in Toronto for, I think it was like SEO company Toronto or something. And I remember my colleague at the time, Yan, he and I were watching it and seeing how long it stayed. It stayed up for a while, like a lot longer than I was expecting. I did not think that thing would rank for very long. And it actually did rank for quite a bit. And then it like started to fall down. What I've heard with stacking in general is you have to keep doing it. So why a lot of the tests that I did on it, which we did a whole bunch of tests on it years ago, failed. We didn't keep doing it. We like put a bunch of stuff out there, saw what happened. We're kind of like unimpressed with it. But I didn't, buy 5,000 links pointing to my Google stacks. The people that swear by it, they're doing it at that level. So I personally do think, this is where I gotta be careful. I don't know if it's a waste of time per se. Like if it's working for you, whatever. I think there's better things you could do with SEO that are better long-term. So this is certainly not a tactic that I would do. But I have seen cases where it works.
So map stacking, here's my biggest issue, is it kind of falls in the line with the same thing of tagging your image with, EXIF data, or geotagging your images, right? But I think what we all know is that the same people who push stacking, geo, EXIF are the same people who don't test. They're the same people who do a bunch of stuff at the same time and then go, oh, but it worked. And then they sell it as a service, which, and they bundle it together basically. So that's where I would argue is that the data probably would not show it if they did it alone.
So Ben, are you cool with screen sharing? If we want to take a look at a couple of these, would it be easier for me to screen share or do you want to screen share?
You can go ahead and screen share. We're not going to be able to tell too much.
Okay. Well, I still think, honestly, your insight is valuable. I will do my best to screen share here.
Realistically, it's like having access that's going to actually what would be the killer, right?
Sure. We can ask questions though, right?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, Susan, this is I think she said this was a suspension case. I mean, it looks like it's live to me, so maybe it's a like a soft suspension where they lost access.
Is that the name of the company though?
Yeah.
Susan, is that the name of the company?
She said it was law offices of Thomas Farrell.
Okay. All right. That's
it. In New Jersey. That is not the same address.
But that is not East Brunswick.
Yeah. So she told me it was 700 East Brunswick. Let me actually just pull up their website here. And
it's probably just another location of theirs.
Yeah, I usually check the footer. Oh,
Yep,
they
there
don't
it
have their
is.
address. Oh, here it is. Okay.
Yeah, there's
So,
East Brunswick right there.
so this one looks like the address that is currently
So
suspended.
just Google the address real quick.
Okay.
Okay, now actually we're going to go ahead and teach everybody a little thing here next to the zip code, type in the word virtual. Come on, you know this one. Scroll down.
Was that the same address or no?
Don't know. Just time to take a look. Let's see. No, it doesn't look like it.
Okay.
All right. Sounds
What was
good.
that
Okay.
listing? There was a
What?
listing. Let me go back to the other screen.
Oh, there was
What is this?
yeah, I know. $10 wow,
What is this?
$10 a room.
The house
Okay.
cleaning service.
Yeah,
They
why
claim to
not?
do. So it's not the same 700. Hold on, let me just look. There's no street number. I'm going to put this back on screen so I have the address in front of me. So this is at the same quote unquote address, a
Mhm.
professional house cleaning service. Is this a problem?
Maybe. Let's go back.
Oh God. No,
Oh
I don't
God.
know. I don't want to get virus on my computer.
There's something that should be taken out. Okay, you should report that just for the fun of it. No, but go back to the map.
Okay. Back here?
Back to the, yeah, no, let's go ahead and click on the street view.
This one?
Okay.
There he is.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Is that him?
Clearly not the cleaning business.
Clearly not. And it looks like it is a storefront, and it looks like it does have signage.
Mm-hmm. So what would be your
Yeah.
next step on this in this case?
Next step would be is a real quick check of like the Secretary of State. Let's go see if there's a DBA out there. You could go as far as going to the bar for New Jersey. So going to the New Jersey State Bar and seeing what's listed there. Most lawyers don't go as far as to get every single address that they have a lawyer, at the bar. So there's that, but it's a little bit more difficult to figure it out. And most lawyers will not go ahead and get a DBA for every location, which you can. So, but I mean, again, these things are not all, they're not all, I guess, hard stops, I guess you could call it, because it is possible to have this many locations for a lawyer.
Now, how much of a problem is this? I'm making some assumptions here, Susan. I don't know if this is true, but like I noticed here that he's got a toll-free number on his location page, also a toll-free number here. Maybe he's using the same toll-free number across a bunch of different profiles. It's certainly a toll-free number on this listing here.
It looks like it.
Yeah. So how much of a problem is that?
All right. So good question. A lot of lines of thought on this. The guidelines, which are gray in nature, state that you should use a local phone number. However, they do understand that businesses use toll-free numbers. The rule is that if you call a toll-free number, you should be able to connect with your local office through a phone tree of some kind. If you go to Walmart, that's what's going to happen. CVS, that's what's going to happen. It's going to get to the actual location itself. I don't know many law firms that do this. They usually go through one intake. But again, this is the least likely thing which is going to cause a suspension.
But what about sharing phone numbers? So like, for example, let me do this here, phone number. See if I can get this to show up. So this was actually a trick that Tom Waddington showed me years ago to actually see secondary numbers on a GBP. So pro tip, if you don't know this was an awesome one that he told me, is if you want to see secondary numbers, what inside the GBP dashboard, you have the primary number, which is visible to everybody. And then you have secondary numbers, and often secondary numbers we found can sometimes be like, on multiple locations. So that could be something else here, is if you're using the same alternate phone number across like different business profiles. Sharing a phone number is not advised.
No, I mean, like I said, 800 number is the least likely thing to cause a suspension. When you're debugging a suspension, yes, you go ahead and you see if the number exists on multiple locations. If it is a local phone number that exists on multiple locations, that's the problem, because East Brunswick is probably not going to be the same thing as Marlton.
Okay, so the plot just thickened. Susan's saying that She doesn't think it's a suspension. She thinks it's deleted. This is actually another whole thing that I want to talk about because this is a great segue. Deleted listings. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Oh, no, go ahead. You go.
Just want to clarify so people are following. A suspended listing is very different than a deleted listing. So you can actually delete a listing. We have a whole video on how to do it. Not that I'm saying to do it, but like there are cases where people actually want to delete a listing. For example, a service area business listing that maybe doesn't exist anymore or something to that nature. So we have a video showing you can delete a listing. This is why, as a business, you should never give primary ownership to anybody other than yourself, because the primary owner is the one who can delete a profile. So basically, that is something you never want to give away. And I have seen people delete listings. Well, owners, yeah. Sorry, you're right. So we always get manager level access. And that I don't think we can, the option isn't there under the manager level. So I don't believe there's a way to do it with the manager level.
Yeah.
You have to be an owner.
Susan, if it's been removed from the dashboard, 99% of the time it is removed by somebody. It's not a bug. We went through this entire period as in the community, actually, where people were coming in and saying, oh my God, missing. And after Google debugged it, they're like, yeah, okay, 9.9 out of 10. It's a user that actually removed it because of the messaging. Anyway, point is there's one rule that you have to keep in mind, and that is that in most categories which are susceptible or duress, like lawyers, you have 72 hours to try and get the profile back. In cases like locksmiths, garage door companies, you can only get them back within 24 hours. Pretty much, if it's gone, it's gone. 72 hours. If you haven't gotten it back in 72 hours, you can reach out to support if you want. They're not going to be able to find it. They're not going to be able to restore it. The only thing you can do at that point is make a new one and go ahead and ask for the reviews to be moved over. Good luck with that. You'll have a 50-50 shot.
I read a really interesting case a few years ago where a lawyer sued Google and got it back. I should send you that one.
It's really just like anything with Google. Go to law.
Yeah.
You'll get changes. You'll get stuff done.
That's one way to go. Okay, so one thing I do want to mention about deleted listings is how many times I have seen tools accidentally delete listings. I've seen this a lot on the forum. I've helped a lot of cases where I'll be diagnosing like what's going on. And like Ben said, if the listing is deleted from or missing from the dashboard, it's likely deleted, especially if it's not live on maps anywhere.
Yeah.
But this isn't always intentional. Like we always like to think like, oh, it's awful. Greg Gifford actually talked about a very large agency that deals with a lot of car dealers last year had a massive amount of autos. You remember this? A massive amount of auto dealers lost their listings.
Oh yeah, no, I remember that. Of course, yeah, it was recent.
Yeah, it was last year. Yeah, well, 2025, I should say. I've helped cases where there was like one where he was like, oh yeah, we have a review monitoring tool that we connect to GBT, and we connected that recently and it deleted the listing. Yeah. You have like a wrong setting in the API, it can screw stuff up.
Yeah,
I've seen that happen many times. I've also seen people delete their profiles in pretty popular SEO tools where they had their GBPs connected, and the moment they remove that connection, it deletes the listing. This isn't intentional. It's just, easy thing for them to check the wrong box and boom, your listing's gone. So be careful what tools you allow authorization to your listing. That would be my thought there.
When it goes to connect to your GBP, just make sure you read the messages. Most people don't. I mean, if they're asking for ownership permission, disconnect immediately. And then email them and be like, I'm curious. Why do you need ownership? You don't need ownership. I'll give you manager. If they say no, say, okay, I will go to your competitors. Have a good day. Be done with it.
Yeah. I will tell you, I've had clients who have deleted their listings and they have no idea what they did. And usually it's something related, like when the more questions we ask and we're like, okay, the listing just vanished. I've seen this happen a lot. Well, not a lot. I shouldn't say a lot. It happens a few times every year. And one of the things that we noticed was they had like a mass email sent out from their email account. Something got flagged, listing got deleted. So it can be related to your Google account and not necessarily something that you did on the GBP side, right? And I think we're going to get into this because I want to talk about the blacklisting thing that you alluded to earlier. Before we do that, one more thing before we do that. I have so many questions to sort through here, but I do want to take this other one.
Do you want to touch really quickly on hijacks? Because somebody said, was alluding to that this might have been a hijack.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, sure. What do you want to say on that?
No, I mean, I forget what the question was, but somebody was basically saying, well, it's possible, somebody could have done an ownership request and nobody responded. Yeah. So we defend against these things actively, like every single day with our service, right? And what we see is that this is a typically a very slippery technique where bad actor will go ahead and request ownership of a profile. They'll do it on a Friday night or Saturday morning. The reason is because you have 72 hours to decline. Who checks their email from Friday night to Monday morning? Most companies do not, right? And they know this. So they'll get in, and once they get that ownership access, bam, they start changing whatever they can.
How do you think they're getting ownership access? How are they getting around verification?
So, well, let's see, what can I say, or what should I say?
Some people, techniques. This is just my curiosity.
Some people have the magic capability of auto verification.
You
know, there are also some people who are extremely smart and can do SIM swapping, basically, where they can fake the address to be at that location when they're doing it. They're actually doing verification in a garage, but they just fake the location. Some of these people are very smart. Let's just put it that way. And yeah, so just I've delved into that and looked into how people are doing this, and they just do it. They can do it, and they can do it very well. So that's how they usually will get around it, or they'll get triggered with the phone, or usually a phone or text. But the text will fail, but they'll try the phone. They can always go in and try and change it and try and recycle numbers. That helps too, but it's usually changing location.
All right. We had somebody else submit a suspended listing question. I thought this would be an interesting one to look at. So this is an appliance repair. I mean, first of all, this is a very spammy industry, like loads of spam. It's interesting because I don't even see their brand. Like, I don't even know what their website is. It certainly doesn't show up here for a search for their name and address, which is
yeah, because the problem is the name is too generic, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, Appliance Repair Lab. So in a situation like this, what is your first step?
Well, a situation like this, I mean, again, in general, we need to locate and find the business in the first place. So really, we just need the address.
Yeah. So the address is here, 70 Castile Crescent, Keswick, Ontario.
Get rid of the business name. Kill it. Yeah, just get rid of it, because there's not that much we can do. Like, we can only look at a couple things. And then it's a house. Okay, you can instantly tell that it's a house. So really, again, we got to come back. It has to come back to questioning. Is the person who asked this question in the audience, are they answering questions live?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. So the first question is going to be: was the Google Business Profile showing the address? Yes or no?
Okay. And obviously, if the answer to that is you were showing the address, the solution would be to hide the address, correct?
Yes, of course, absolutely, because it's a home.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Here we go. I work for the appliance repair company, and the owner is placing his business on my address.
Oh.
Oh. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Okay. I worked for another appliance repair company, and the owner insisted on placing it on my address. We see this too often. This is a great example for any appliance owners out there. Don't do this. Anyway, no, my company and my account got suspended at the same address. Of course, because there is another appliance repair company on your address.
Yeah. I wonder if his got suspended too, because I don't see it. Or maybe it's one that's got the
address. Yeah, go to Maps. Take a look at the address.
I'm thinking there's a good chance that we're not going to be able to find it if it's a hidden address.
Well, I mean, if you you never know. Let's go ahead and find out. Let's see, and then scroll down over on the left. If there's any more businesses at this place.
No.
No? Oh. Okay. All right. No problems. No biggie. Okay, we're not going to be able to haul anything from the outside. Yeah. Okay. So.
But if they already know there was a listing verified, even if it's got a hidden address, I think. Yeah. I think you isolated.
Adele, is the other business still there?
Well, I guess,
The other appliance repair company? Is it still on maps?
yeah, is it still live? It's a service area business. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. That's not Knitton's. It's not Knitton's issue. It's Adele's issue.
This is going to be so tricky because you even think if you report the other business using her address, that Google's even going to do anything with it. Like, I guess, like, could she provide documents to Google saying, like, this is my home address, like, here's my proof, whatever, this other business is using it. The problem, I think, is, yeah, she left the business. She's saying Google wouldn't even know what address that other profile is verified with, right?
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. I mean, just the question is the right Adele, but is the other business still on Google Maps? If so, what's the company name?
Yeah, that would be the question.
Yeah, exactly.
So, assuming it is still on Maps, the one she used to work for, let's assume that's true and they're still live. What would you do?
Well, the first thing you're going to have to do is you basically, once you get your denial, then you would literally reply back to Google and be like, this is not my company. This is somebody else registered and used my address to register an SAB. Google's probably not going to take any action, by the way. You know, that's the problem.
It's complicated.
Yeah, because it's an SAB, so it's not quote unquote not tied to the verification address. And I say it quote unquote because it's BS. It actually is. It's just masked. It's even masked in their database, but it does exist. So the only way to really get around this is to basically go ahead and get rid of the other one. Now, the only way you're going to get rid of the other one is to try and permanently close it. You may try and redress it and try and get rid of it. But that's really it. There's not much you can do. There's actually no legal recourse at this point either. There's really not much you can do.
I mean, I would say get an office for your new business. Like, don't try and use your home address. That would be one other suggestion that'll help you get on Maps if that's a doable thing.
You could technically say you're Suite A, and then when you do the verification for the profile, you do it down the street. You know, you just don't do it at your home.
Oh my gosh.
That could work. And in theory, it could work.
We'll try not to clip that then. All right. We have some other questions from the audience I want to take. This one, he says he has a roofing client. He's been suspended for about 15 days. It's a service area business. Any tips for him to help get it reinstated?
Well, I mean, it's a roofing client, right? So it's going to be pretty simple. You do still need to kind of figure out what the core issue is. And whatever Google has sent you as far as emails or communications on what the issue is mean nothing unless it says it's an account related issue. And then that's actually pretty easy to take care of. But, you know, otherwise with roofing, I mean, it's going to come down to, if it's been 15 days, that means you've submitted your appeal and you've been denied by this time. You've probably also submitted the review. It's also been denied at this time. So basically at this point, what I'm going to say is that barring it being an account level issue, it's probably going to come down to your paperwork. Whenever you're dealing with a roofing company, they usually think they have the best paperwork in the entire world. No, they usually don't. They usually have, like, you know, utility bills will be in their personal name. It won't be in their company name. They won't have any kind of DBAs. Even if they do have a DBA, it doesn't matter because the name of the DBA actually has to be on your paperwork. Their contractor's license probably is going to be fine. It's going to probably be dead on. But if this is at a home, more than likely, this is going to be a satellite location away from the actual corporate location. And might even be somebody's actually kind of like we were dealing in the previous situation where it's at a contractor's home or something of that nature. Now, these are all assumptions, by the way, every single one of them, but it's just kind of what goes through my mind immediately. If it is at somebody's home, which is like an employee's home or something of that nature, that is absolutely against the guidelines. Sure, you can get away with it, but now try getting it reinstated. That's going to be a gargantuan effort, because you're not going to be able to get a lot of public-facing utility bills, business licenses, or anything, because it's not your home. You don't have authority over it.
Okay, so we have a lot of questions. Before I take more, I want to come back to the thing I mentioned that I was going to ask you about earlier. You referred to this thing like blacklisting. You said like it's a very different thing.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that. What are you talking about? Give me some examples.
One of the first cases I dealt with over 7 years ago was a lawyer. They had 20 locations all over California. They had their main lawyer profile, which was actually out of Newport Beach, California. No, this is not who you're thinking about, Joy. Okay, it's not who you are thinking about.
So many spammers, but okay, go ahead.
No, it is not who you're thinking about. So you can think about it. 7 years ago, there was a specific case, but it was not that one.
Okay.
So,
You say so.
So basically, what ended up happening is that all of their 21 other odd locations were in virtual offices. They were in Regis's, so they were breaking the guidelines. What happened is they went back, they got back up. Google gave them a window, and they got back up. The main location got back up. Okay. And they left all the virtual ones down. They tried their hardest to get the new ones up. Somebody took out their main location again, okay, because they did get back up in a couple locations. At that point, Google said, you know what? We're not going to let you back on. And so their main location went down. Nothing they could do would actually get it back up. At that time, you could call Google, right? You know, and pretty much the operator said, no, we can't help you. We ended up trying and taking a look at it, and, you know, basically ended up having to scrap, of course, all the Regis locations, get actual storefront offices, get actual lawyers going in there. And then after some really, really, really good appeals, they put their main location back up online again. But they went through an entire year where they were blacklisted at the domain level.
To be clear, they no longer had the other 20 whatever listings in their account at this point.
They tried to get them
one profile.
Yeah.
They know, but like in their Google Business Profile account, while you're going through all this, those other 20 listings are not even in there anymore, or are they in there?
They were eventually they were moved out into their own account to kind of isolate them, because they were actually resurrectable at the end of the day. But the reason I bring up this example is this is an example where it was recovered.
Mm-hmm.
This does not happen very often at all. Google does keep a record of, and this is not really well-known knowledge, but Google does keep a journal of the suspensions, the reasons for those suspensions, when the suspensions happened, and when those suspensions are released. So it's an internal journal, and basically they can use this information against you. Meaning that if you get suspended again, if it's because of the same infractions that you've done previously, this can lead to a blacklist. In other words, you have one shot after you've been reinstated, meaning that if you, again, it's not like you do one little thing wrong and you're suspended again, you're never going to get back up. It's not that. That's a different story. It's you've done this massive amount of activity of trying to create tons of fake listings, spam. They give you a reprieve and then you do it again. That's what's bad.
So there was a case that I was helping on the forum that sounds a lot like this. They were a business in Australia and they had done some shady stuff. Australia has a consumer warning site. I didn't even know this. I was Googling their business, like looking to see why they got suspended. And they're actually on like the consumer warning list, basically saying this business has shady practices because they had over 200 different websites. Now, my assumption is if you have over 200 different websites, you probably have a good number of Google business profiles, maybe with each of those domains. This is an assumption. So I assume that they were similar to your lawyer and had a lot of fake listings. They actually, interestingly enough, did not have any luck getting the original profile reinstated at all. Like just hit a brick wall, but they recreated it as a new profile, and that one got reinstated. What are your thoughts on creating a new profile when you hit a brick wall? This is something that people disagree on, but let's say you got suspended, you're getting nowhere. At what point do you go the route of creating a new business listing?
Are you talking in general?
In general.
Oh, okay. All right. I was going to say, if you're going back to the example we were just talking about, bad idea. In general, okay.
The domain's the problem, and you're just going to get, I get that.
You're dead, yeah. So this one's a really difficult one to answer. right? For all the reasons I think you're probably, So Google's guidance is if you are suspended, clear your suspension, don't make a new one. It's really bad guidance. It only applies 30% of the time, really, in my estimation. If you're suspended, you can make a new one as long as you understand the caveat. The caveat is Google hates moving reviews from one profile to another.
True story.
There's a technical reason for this. Internally, they don't have any good review tools that can move reviews from one location or even find them from one location to another. The fact is that, you've had Brad on, so you talked about this before. So the fact is that that the data for the reviews lives inside of the Maps database. It doesn't actually live inside of Google Business Profile. It's just they're connected. That's all. But that connectivity is so weak. It's just extremely difficult to find it. So if you create a new one, well, you have to literally toss a coin and live with whatever ends up happening, because you're never going to be able to go backwards. You just made the new one. You've got the new one. You're done at this point. So
when you say it's a coin flip, you're talking about getting the reviews transferred to the new profile.
Right.
So sometimes Google does it and sometimes they won't.
Correct.
What have you ever noticed any trends or patterns as to like why they refuse to do them?
Zero trend, zero pattern.
Okay. This is something I've grilled Brad Wetherall about. So Brad Wetherall, by the way, if you don't know who he is, he's fantastic. I've had him on here, our YouTube channel, many times. I'm going to be having him on again later this year. He is fantastic because he used to work at Google. So he has insights into this that are very different than those of us on the outside. He was really adamant that like you should be able to get the reviews back the majority of the time. And I have a case right now that I am fighting like hard, because there's a business that got suspended 2 years ago, and the marketing company that was dealing with him at the time created a new listing. They never got the reviews back. And I was like, man, that sucks. Maybe I'm fighting a losing battle based on what you're saying, because if it's a coin flip, then maybe I'm not going to get anywhere. But Brad made me think that I should be able to get somewhere. So I didn't give up. You're disagreeing with Brad. Okay.
I'm completely disagreeing with Brad.
Wow.
Simply because of experience.
Yeah, well, fair enough. And I'm getting nowhere, to be clear. I've been fighting with them for 3 months. I'm just very persistent, and I refuse to give up. But once you get 200 reviews that they lost.
Yeah. Once you get what I call a golden middle finger, is
okay. Yeah, I'm getting that. I'm sure they probably have a dartboard with my face on it back there, because I have hit Google up through so many different methods through like every support channel, and I'm like refusing to let this go. Because I genuinely know that the reviews were not fake and they were real reviews and they were from years. And I also think this company got screwed because they hired a bad marketing company. I got Google support on the phone. They called me and they were like, we can't find these reviews. Da, da, da. I got them to the point where they found them. I was telling them like, look for this, look for this. They're like, oh yeah, they have 6 deleted/suspended profiles. I was like, well, there's your problem. The marketing company obviously had a lot of bad advice, and they found them. And they're like, okay, yeah, we're going to escalate this. Like you said, they don't want to spend the time moving them. So I could feel that friction on the phone, but I really thought I was getting somewhere. And then they come back and they're like, the reviews violate the quality guidelines. I'm like, no, they don't. Like, they're fine. This is so irritating. So, okay, you're telling me I'm probably wasting my time. We'll find out. I will probably drop it in another like 3 months if I don't get anywhere.
Damn, 3 months. Oh my goodness. You are wasting some time.
I know. I need to prove a point. I want Brad to be right. Brad was the one that like encouraged me to keep going. But
so here's the issue. All right. So I'm gonna give you the cheat code.
Okay, what's the cheat code?
The cheat code to make it work, or / figure out if you are just banging your head against the wall until it's a bloody stump. Okay, don't do that, Joy. We love you. Please don't do that. Stay. So, and that is this. Go ahead and get all of the reviews they have ever had for that profile in screenshot format. Okay?
Screenshot format, not
screenshot format. Start that way.
Okay.
Get a backup of the reviews if you have it.
I do.
In CSV format.
Okay.
Okay. must include the Maps contributor profile that left those reviews.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Of course,
To be
you
clear, these are screenshots from their Facebook page. So don't have that.
I
Have
know.
the review text. The only way I found these reviews was from their Facebook post. They would brag about every time they got a review.
So we back up reviews in a very specific format, and we have it in the exact way that Google can actually translate the data to the Maps database. Anyway, even if you have that, you still have a 50-50 shot.
To be clear, they found them. So they know where they are. They're just refusing to transfer them. So that's part, I know that to find them, they need the information. So just to clarify what Ben's talking about here, if you're trying to get reviews back in any situation, you do need to provide copies of them. So highly recommend having a tool that, you know, downloads, stores, this kind of stuff. Really important to have that tool set if you work in local SEO. But if you have that and they find them and they're still refusing, this is where I want to rip my hair out. And we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. I have like one last thing that I haven't tried yet that I'm going to try for these ones. To be determined. We'll make it into a YouTube video if I actually am successful. And if I'm not, maybe it'll save people time. Okay, there's a lot of questions here that I want to get to.
Let's do it.
I would like to get a business suspended. Okay. You're reporting a competitor that does not exist. They are stealing my traffic. How many complaints will it take?
Sorry, had to laugh. Okay, why am I laughing? Because it's not how many complaints.
Okay.
Okay, so that's number one. Does have to do with how well you do put your documentation together. There's not a ton that you can find, you know, but there is some. It also depends on whether it's a storefront or a service area-based business. Service area-based businesses are definitely a little bit trickier to get rid of because they're just the body of evidence is very low, and also it's very inconsistent. So again, this is kind of where you throw it to Google and you kind of let them decide. You know, it's their problem more than anything else. But also another thing is that if you're looking at the spam and you're like, I reported it 3 days ago, how come it's not gone? I'm going to report it again. Oh, I reported it 3 days ago. It's not gone. I'm going to report it again and again and again and again. Well, guess what? Sorry, you're being ignored at this point because now you've just become a PIA and they are ignoring you.
What's a PIA?
No,
Sorry.
I'm not going to say it. It's foul language. Forget it.
Oh, that's my PIA. Sorry, I thought you were using some type of Google analogy. That's hilarious. Okay. Got it. Okay. I'll say it. You're being a pain in the ass.
PETA, exactly. Pain in the ass. So, but yeah, no, Google actually does know how many times you've submitted a complaint and they know how many times you've submitted a complaint about the same business. Yes, they actually have this data. So it's revealable in a subpoena. So they have it somewhere.
1000%.
Yes.
So just to repeat what you're saying, if you're reporting a business, you should report it once. If you start reporting it multiple times, do you actually decrease your chances of Google doing anything about it?
100%.
Wow. That's really great information.
The other thing is that when you're redressing a business, again, you'll think about like, well, you know, it hasn't gone ahead and they haven't removed it in a week, right? That's not the rule. I can tell you this. Joey and I were talking about this before we came on. So we have about a 56% success rate across all industries.
Which is phenomenal for the record, just so everyone's clear. Yeah.
Thank you. Does not work with boats, though. It's really freaking strange. I don't know.
Boats?
Boats. Like, you know, people who have like fishing charters.
Yeah.
Can't get rid of them.
Oh.
No, it's extremely frustrating, but they won't get rid of them. So if you work with people that have boats and charters and you want to report spam, just say no. Anyway, so where is it going with this? Oh yeah. So delays. So 2 weeks used to be the benchmark a year and a half ago.
Yep.
They changed. Now it is up to 3 months on the first pass.
That's insane. That's ridiculous.
It's extremely insane.
Okay. So I'm going to break this down for people. You report it once, 3 months goes by. What do you do?
Then at that point, just take your case ID, come to the support forums and ask us. We'll escalate it. You know, hey, I submitted this a couple months ago. Google hasn't removed it. Can you guys have a look?
Oh my God. Sorry, I have to throw in a tip here. Do not list the business information you are
No.
reporting. I have a story.
Yes, don't do that.
I was helping a lady on the forum, and she did include all the information. She linked to a spreadsheet of all the businesses she was reporting. Okay. Obviously, people have Google Alerts set up for the brand name, and I was just helping. I don't even know who this lady is. Okay, I have no idea. I'm just doing my job as a moderator in the forum, so I escalated her case. This guy started calling and harassing my staff every single day, going, "Joy helped this lady on the forum. My business is ruined. Google suspended me. It's her fault because she's helping this lady. She's that lady's puppet." I'm like, dude, I don't even know who this woman is. For all I know, it's a guy. Like, I have no idea. And he wouldn't stop. I had to like block his phone number from our phone system, basically tell him like, you got to stop calling or I'm going to like contact my lawyer. Like, leave me alone. I have nothing to do with this. All I did was like, sure, I'll pass this message to Google, like escalate. That's it, right? That's what we're supposed to do when you moderate a forum. So please, my God, for my sake, for Ben's sake, for your own sake, do not use the name of the business. I hope I never talk to that guy ever again. He eventually shut up, but it was brutal. So you do not want that nightmare. Do not ever list the name of the business.
Well, God, do you remember? I think it was like 4 years ago. This is when the PI spam was horrid, right? But somebody came with a list of over 10,000 PI fake firms from the suburbs.
Yeah.
And it was actually organized mafia from overseas that was doing it. And they had somebody show up at their home because they posted all their information. So yeah, don't post information. It's really not worth it.
Post anything private on the Google Business Profile forum. Like, it is a public forum, guys. You do not want that stuff there. Okay. Before I go to more questions, because we have a crap ton of them, I do want to do a mention. If anyone here missed Localu Global, it just happened a couple weeks ago. We finally got the videos up, so you can now go and get those videos. There was honestly, I think, our best virtual event we've ever had. The presentations were phenomenal. We managed to land some really stellar speakers like Will Reynolds and Kyle Roof and Dana DiTomaso, and it was just really fantastic all around. We got amazing feedback from it. It's $135. If you missed it, you can go now, get the videos, the whole set of discussions that happened. We are going to be doing another one focused on business owners later this year, so keep up with our newsletter to get information about that when it happens. If you're not already subscribed, it's sterlingsky.ca/newsletter. And you can go ahead and subscribe there to get notifications of all our events, because we do lots of them. All right. Please share your map reviews removal fast method. Okay, I'm going to translate this. What is your suggested way of getting rid of reviews the fastest?
The first thing is, and I hate to say it, but this is all boilerplate, so it is. But you just go ahead and report the review. Use the proper report method. I guess you could call it like spam. I think you've had the most success with spam, right? Right, Joy? Something like that.
I have a love-hate relationship with spam.
Okay. So, but report it first. Number one, report it with the domain name that is attached to the Google Business Profile. Of course, you're going to have a little bit better success with that. Of course, if you have a G Suite account, which in this case we would assume you do, it's not delegated to Outlook, then it's going to have a little bit more power behind it. If it's not removed within 72 hours, then you can go to the review redressal or the review appeal tool. If that works and brings up the review that you're looking for, I think they've fixed that, actually, haven't they? No? Anyway.
Wait, hold on. I want to touch on something you said. You said something about G Suite. Is that like with the account you manage? So if it's your business, does it matter if you are flagging from the account that manages the profile, or are you saying like any G Suite account? Like, I could, theoretically speaking.
No, with the domain name.
Okay. So you're talking like your own thing. It's better to have a G Suite account than having your email or hosting somewhere else?
Exactly. Unless the account that you're using is very old. So for instance, if you have a Gmail account that you've had since like 2009, you probably want to reuse that one to report it. So it's going to have a lot more trust. And believe me, trust scores mean something. So you do that, wait 72 hours. If it doesn't go, then you go ahead and use the review appeal tool. If it's working, like I said, 2 months ago, I don't think the review tool was working very well. I think they fixed it since then. So you can go in, select it, report it again, and then again, give it 72 hours, check back in the appeal tool. If the basically has come back as not approved in the appeal tool, the only other thing that you can do is really, you can try and reach out to support and see what they'll do about it. At the end of the day, if it is indeed a fake spam review, not just a review you didn't like, by the way, that does not qualify. And will actually go against your trust score, by the way, if you report it. So
wait. Hold on.
I saw that. I saw you tell your head like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, like you're saying things and I'm like, I don't want people to miss them. Okay, so let's break that down. You said reporting a review that ends up not getting removed can hurt your trust. So if I'm just like this
in a specific way.
All right.
Okay.
Elaborate.
So a majority of merchants see they have this 4-year-old review that somebody left. It was a 1-star review. It was about an ex-employee or whatever the case may be, right? And they'll be like, oh, but that's a fake review. Like, but that was left by a client. Maybe. I don't know. We don't know. It's a fake review.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, it's a valid review. They just want to get rid of it.
Right. Yeah. There's
everybody does. So in that case, you are basically reporting something which is actually valid.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, Google can tell it's a valid review, right? And that's what I'm saying is like algorithmically, that is going to be a ding against your credibility score, basically.
And how do you know that? I'm just like wondering, like, is that something that you've measured, or did a Googler tell you that, or like?
I've been told this.
You've been told this, okay.
Multiple times by multiple Googlers.
Interesting. Okay, this is where it's like pays to have ex-Googlers as friends. We're gonna actually do like an ex-Googler panel later this year. I'm very excited. I want to have Joel Headley back. I was talking.
Oh yeah.
I know, he's like the OG Google employee that I used to pick his brain constantly. And then we've got obviously Brad Wetherall, who's going to be speaking at Localu later this year, and I'm kind of excited about it. That's an interesting concept. I know from the Mapmaker days, I'm dating myself here, but like when we talked about editing listings, denials hurt you for sure. So if you reported a listing as fake and then a Googler was like, nope, that's not true, it's fine, that would ding your trust. So I never thought that it would apply to reviews as well. That is a really interesting concept. So essentially, if you're a business owner, you don't really want to be reporting reviews that you don't think will get removed, correct?
I wouldn't.
Got it. That's really interesting. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that before. So that is awesome. I do miss Mapmaker so much.
I know. I still have my Mapmaker certificate.
All right. We have another question here about unstaffed hybrid storefronts. I'm going to probably elaborate on this. We've got lots of businesses in this scenario. You know, they open offices, they want their GBPs. They probably don't have people there all day. Let's be honest. A lot of them don't. What is your thought on how much Google enforces this? Do you really need to staff all your offices?
So this one's interesting. Yes, maybe no. So, and why I say that is because the least enforceable things that Google has when it comes to a Google business profile is going to be the hours and if somebody exists at the location itself. Because Google is not going to take your word for it that nobody is there. Google will not take the landlord's word for it that nobody is there. Google will not take your 1.5, 3-minute video of you showing the fact that somebody is not there and that it's a dark room. Google doesn't care about any of this stuff. As a matter of fact, you can't prove it. None of it. Now, can you take a picture of that storefront dark at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and upload it to their Google profile? You sure can. Can you leave a bet? Yep. Can you leave a review about that business and the fact that they're never there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when they say they are there? You sure can.
Yep.
Can you submit a redressal form citing this review? You sure can.
Does that work?
Have you ever gotten a suspended profile that says does not exist?
that matches with the fake review. Or the negative review. I don't know.
Yeah. It does not exist as a real status, and it actually ties directly to the redressal form, directly, or a suggested edit.
Where do you see that status? Or when you're talking about does not exist as a status, where would you see that?
It's in the appeal tool.
Okay.
You won't see them very often, by the way. They're like super
I
rare.
don't know if I've ever seen it, but yeah, I would have to ask Stefan or Liz. They do more suspensions than I do.
Yeah, they're super rare to run into, but when you run into them, you know exactly where they came from. So anyway, that's the fire that you play with by having a hybrid storefront and nobody actually being there. Like with our clients, we recommend them all. It's like, get one of your salespeople, throw your salesperson in there.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like just one person, right?
It's a real location.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a question I've definitely gotten asked though, because they're like, really, like, how can Google even police this? They really can't.
Yeah, Stefan says he's seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't think Google can police a lot of this. So the cases we're talking about, I don't feel like are the norm, right? It's more likely that people will just get away with it. But certainly there are cases, and this is one of the things that's so irritating about Google's guidelines. There is no consistency. Some people have lots of success spamming their way to eternity and they get away with it. And whereas other people like do one little tiny thing wrong and they're like, bam.
Yeah.
It's very annoying.
Google in general is inconsistent about everything. So I don't think I've ever seen them be consistent about one thing.
Agreed. Yeah. Okay. We actually had a couple questions about review gating, which we haven't really talked about. Review gating, is that something that you still see Google penalizing for? Also, I'm going to define what review gating is because I don't want to assume everybody here knows what we're talking about. Review gating is the process where you ask somebody for a review, and if they say that they're not happy, so let's say they give you a 1-star, you're sending them to basically a different form, and you're only sending people to leave you a review on Google if they first said that they're happy and put 5 stars. So usually this is done through review software. And I've talked to a lot of review software companies that have scaled this back. But what are you seeing Google do recently when it comes to review gating?
I don't see that many companies doing review gating anymore. I mean, it's died over the past 2 years. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've seen it hardly at all over the past year. The one company I did run into that was doing it was tied to a company, one of our clients who was losing about 500 reviews a week. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
And I would actually call it legitimate reviews because I know how they generate their reviews. But still, they had initially worked with this company. I'm not going to say who it was, and they definitely were review gating. I've seen others in the space say something like review gating can cause a suspension.
No,
I don't agree.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
No.
The biggest wipeouts I've seen though were from review gating, like ones where Google just annihilated all the reviews like overnight, and like a crazy number of them. All of those cases that I've looked at were from review gating, but I agree it doesn't happen very often anymore.
I have seen companies get caught review gating. I've seen their rankings decline
when their reviews get removed. Correct?
Oh yeah.
Agreed. Yep. Same. We actually did a video on this. There was a law firm, sure you know about this one, who lost all the reviews across every single location across the entire country. And it was a freaking ton of reviews. It was review gating, I believe, was the violation. And
I remember this one.
Their rankings tanked bad, and they never recovered. Like I checked a year later and they were still way worse than they were in prior months. And we actually had data because they showed up, because they were such a large firm. They showed up on lots of our clients' competitor reports. So I was just like going in to see like what happened. And it was crazy. We did a whole video on it.
Nice. I think I remember that one.
Yeah. Oh, you do. All right. Competitors using UPS stores. This is another one I don't see often, but what's your suggestion here?
Okay, so one of the first things that I try to debug when somebody has an address and it looks legitimate enough, I look for the fact that they have a UPS drop-off or a FedEx drop-off anywhere near that address, because it can flag as a virtual, basically a virtual location. However, competitors using UPS stores for business address showing up in the map pack. Okay, let's just take this apart very quickly. Number one, most of the ones that are using a UPS store probably got in over 2.5 to 3 years ago. This is when Google was not good at looking at and matching a UPS store address. And as a matter of fact, Joy and I and all the other PEs used to go back to Google CMs and be like, this is clearly a UPS store. And Google be like, no, we didn't catch it. It's okay. It's good. But also what I see is when there's a UPS store, if it's a multi-layered, a multi-level place, like it could have stores on say level 2 and also level 1 and UPS stores on level 1. Sometimes Google gets confused at the fact that there's stores above, and so they think that the business is actually above the UPS store. And there's some spam techniques actually around that, which we're not going to get into. But that's how they kind of get away with it. Now, the fact that it's a UPS store, it's pretty easy to prove. So what you do is just go ahead and go on the Redressal form, and you need to show and say, look, address number 1, address number 2. Address number 2, as you can see, belongs to this Google business profile, which is the UPS store. 9 times out of 10, they'll remove it.
Got it. Okay. I want to ask you something that you alluded to earlier, but I want to dive into a little deeper. CTR manipulation. Okay. This is a really hot topic. We have actually done a few AMAs over on our subreddit. If you're not aware, we have a subreddit, it's local search on Reddit. Anybody that's on Reddit, make sure you check that out. We do AMAs all the time. And we actually did one with a CTR manipulation tool a few months ago that was really interesting. I asked them so many questions. So CTR manipulation is a tactic where people basically click on your business listing to drive engagement signals. I will say very confidently, CTR is absolutely a ranking factor. Anyone that denied that, there has been Google statements where they're like, nah, it's not a factor. It is a factor. I will say that confidently. So CTR manipulation is a quick and easy hack that a lot of people use where they get people to click on their business profile to inflate its prominence, which then, of course, inflates its ranking. The real question I want to ask you, because I feel like you'll know more about this than anyone else, is have you seen CTR manipulation lead to a suspension?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
God, yes.
Tell me some stories. What do you know?
Oh, no. Yeah, absolutely. I thought you were going to ask a tame question. Come on.
No. There was so much on this AMA that when people are like, nah, I've never seen a suspension from CTR manipulation. That's BS. Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No. Okay, I'll tell you a story. Okay. Franchise that I work with, 400 units, something like that. Yeah. They didn't tell me this until after the fact. But they were playing with a company that does CTR manipulation, 100%, right? You can see it. You go into Google Search Console, it's like pattern after pattern after pattern. It's just like, and you go into the Apache logs, it's even worse. I mean, it's really, really disgustingly bad. It's so easily identifiable that where everything was coming from and what they were doing. Anyway, it worked for 2 months.
It does work. Yeah, for sure.
It worked. And then what they did was they asked the company to stop.
Oh, gosh.
And the company came back and said, we will stop after you pay us $500,000.
I'm sorry, what?
We will stop after you pay us $500,000.
Oh, my God.
That's when we'll stop. And, of course, the franchise said, go away. Right? Well, guess what? They turned it up. And they turned it up a lot. They basically ended up losing half their network. So over 200 locations went down, and every single one of them came back with the exact same reason in the appeal tool. And it was basically, I think it was not around deceptive content. It was the engagement factors. I forget what the name of it is. But anyway, it's the false engagement factors. And yeah, those 400, only about 100 came back. The other 300 were destroyed, completely destroyed. Google would not bring them back. Same reason every single time. They had to create brand new profiles. In some cases, they actually had to move locations, change their landing pages, change their phone numbers. They had to dig. It was such a mess.
If you can't say, this is fine. What industry was it?
I can't tell you because you know who I'm talking about.
All right, fair enough. I'll ask you later.
Yeah.
All good. Yeah, that's insane. Okay, so for the ones that you couldn't get reinstated, do you just go create new profiles for them? Is that the
It only worked for 100 out of the 3. I'm sorry, the 4. The other 3 gone.
Holy crap. Okay, so there is actually a company on Reddit, for the record, that advertises, I see the ads all over the place, that is talking about doing CTR manipulation in a negative SEO way, i.e. you want to tank your competitors, you hire us, we will essentially do this.
It'll work.
That is insane, Ben.
It'll work.
We actually have, so I have Brian Caddo. I don't know if you've met him. He's going to be doing an AMA again on Reddit. Sorry, I'm kind of obsessed with Reddit lately. But he's doing an AMA on Reddit to talk about negative SEO. And I'm going to be like asking him about this. This is insane and he'll agree with you, for the record. You guys would have 1,000% like the same thing. That it can be, I think he was looking at negative SEO from a ranking perspective. Like, can you hire a company to tank a business? And you're looking at it going, like, can it also cause a suspension? It sounds like it can do both. That's bad. Like, I don't know. I have no words. Other than like, some days I'm like really on the fence on whether I like Google or whether I hate Google. And like lately I've been hating Google a little more than I've been liking them. And I'm not trying to go to that side, but I'm just like, man, stuff like this where I'm like, fix your crap, like really is irritating.
Yeah, no, it was pretty devastating, obviously. For the 300 that were knocked out, they had to, some of them were able to be recovered after they changed their numbers and their business name.
Yeah, so there's a guy that I met who owns a company that is actually pretty popular right now. Their ads are everywhere, and he runs a CTR manipulation product. And they're a little different. So they don't use bots. A lot of these use bot traffic, right? Like, it's not like human beings going to your business profile. It's like computers and they're clicking things, whatever. He actually uses real human beings, and it's through an app network. So this is one of those ones where I'm
that sounds legit.
It does sound legit. So basically, let's say you're on an app. I don't know what app, I didn't ask. But so you're on an app and you're near a specific, I don't know, let's say a vape shop in Chicago, and their app through these like thing will see that you're near this vape shop. It'll give you a push notification. You click on it and it'll send you to a vape shop's like listing. So again, it's inflating CTR, obviously. But it's like actual people on actual phones with IP addresses in the neighborhood. Do you think Google would like ever be able to catch that?
So the problem, I think, with any of these manipulation techniques, you remember CTR manipulation back in the day with organic?
It's been around for a long time. It still works for organic too, like, to be clear.
For the most part. For the most part, it does. What ends up happening, and the problem is that you start, it's when you stop.
Yes, agreed. Okay. This is why we don't do it as a tactic, because I'm like, I don't know if I want like clients canceling and then tanking, and then like, what does that do to your brand? This is what I say to SEO companies that are looking at adopting this. I'm like, that is so risky. I'm like, they're going to come after you. It's like the same type of thing as like the companies that held people's websites hostage. It's like, what does that say about you as a company? Like,
and if you're doing it and you're taking these shortcuts, and like you said, the client leaves you, and then all of a sudden their traffic tanks, what they're going to do is they're not going to look at your technique. They're going to just look at you and be like, oh, you did something to hurt us. You did something to damage our rankings. And yes, we're going to sue you.
Yeah. Or leave you bad reviews or whatever. Right. And again, like, the CTR manipulation tool that I was referencing, like, they have horrible online reviews. So they clearly have this problem. And it's like, it's not because their thing doesn't necessarily work. It does work. But I'm like, do you really, I can't stomach that as a company that I spent too many years building up our brand to deal with that kind of nonsense.
Exactly.
I'm sure you're in the same boat.
100%. We don't play with that. We don't play it. We don't play that.
Yeah, you've been sharing some stuff again. Like, I really have not heard anybody say really, really good stuff. I'm going to go to some questions here. Call tracking doesn't work well when your employees start using the number. That's a valid point. I will say, with your reporting, this is where first-time callers are the thing you really want to report on. So that is how we do it at Sterling Sky. Ben, you got any insights on that?
Your employees shouldn't start using that phone number for sure. Actually, we see this in LSA though. There are issues in LSA a lot. We see that where we see we'll get complaints from our clients. We're like, well, how come we can't filter out returning customers? Right? Somebody becomes a customer and they're used to going to and finding the merchant's information on LSA. They think it's just a normal organic listing, right? You've talked a lot about the whole, how it's difficult sometimes to tell what's an ad these days. And so, yeah, but they'll get that and they'll be like, yeah, our clients keep calling us on the LSA number. We're getting charged for it. And it's the same thing. I mean, you're going to get data confusion, obviously, in a lot of different places. So yeah, your employees should definitely not be using that phone number. Your clients, you should teach them what your real phone number is. Yeah, that's the best advice I can give there. Either that or have them change their scripts.
Let's just talk some suspension signals. So are there specific signals that you should look at? I know you've touched on a few. Anything you haven't mentioned already?
So I'm pausing here for a little bit for dramatic effect, but also because this is it's a convoluted answer to a simple question. And because the answer is not really very simple for this one. So the reason why is that a lot of the signals that you see from a suspension are actually signals that you can't see outside of the Google Business Profile. Like we get a lot of people in the community come in and say, my profile is perfect, here's screenshots, whatever the case may be. And it's like, yeah, no, everything looks good. You're right. Everything looks fan-freaking-tastic. But little do people know that Google actually, we talked about trust. Google actually has third-party software they use to generate trust scores, okay? Or at least to inform their trust scores that marries with their internal data. And so when a profile is, let's say you make an edit to a profile and you're changing the phone number, then that causes what's called an integrity check. Now, when the integrity check hits, that goes through the automation and it looks at the trust score. It looks at like a lot of different types of factors actually. And basically states, is this a valid profile or do we need to check and do a little bit more checking? If we need to do a little bit more checking, add suspension, basically, cause suspension. When you're suspended, really what you're doing is you're basically trying to prove that you are a legitimate entity at the end of the day. And so that is forcing you, or Google is forcing you, basically to double check everything. So, and then, and I know this is not answering you directly, right? Because it's very difficult to answer directly. Because I could say what everybody else says, right? I could say, oh, you need to check your business name, you need to check your address, you need to check the Secretary of State, you need to check your business license. That's all BS. All of that stuff needs to line up. Absolutely. Some of it Google can tell, some of it Google can't. So but what they're going to do is they are going to absolutely be asking you for proof, okay? But that proof is just a body of proof. It's a body of evidence. It also must line up with these internal scores at the same time. This is why we see account level suspensions. Account level suspensions cause an immediate decrease in your trust score. You're going from like a 90 down to 5, just because you've messed around in another product.
Yeah, if you were to list like maybe the top 5 things, and you don't have to stick to 5, you can do less or more, that cause account level suspensions, what would you say they are?
Oh, account level suspensions? That's easy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's super simple. Yeah. So the first one is going to be just an infraction in another Google product. We see AdWords probably 9 times out of 10 on this one, where somebody has the suspended AdWords account for whatever reason. And then it goes ahead and it causes a suspension, of course, in Google Business Profile. The next one is going to be is basically suggested edits manipulation, or just abuse in general, I guess you could call it. And that is where you're using your same account and you're going ahead, you're suggesting edits on every single business because, of course, they're not playing by the rules. Where Google comes back and you look at your edits and it's like, not approved, not approved, not approved, not approved. Out of 10 or 9 out of 10 of the ones that you reported. Well, guess what? Now, all of a sudden, your local guides account gets suspended as well. Okay. That's just another Google product. You can actually go over to the local guides website, try to log in. It'll tell you if you're suspended or not. So there's that little tip. But those are the two, I would say, the two largest indicators of what's going to cause an account level suspension. Yeah, I really haven't seen actually anything outside of that, come to think of it. The only other thing I've seen is maybe like, I've seen some, talking about review tools, I've seen review tools cause account level suspensions. That I have seen.
Wow, geez.
It's rare, but it does happen.
Here is another question. He had a glitch where he added clients to a Google Business Profile group and it made them the primary owner. I think I've actually seen this. Safest way to switch it back.
Interesting. I don't think I've seen this glitch. But the safest way to switch it back, let's see, you're adding clients to a GBP group. I'm assuming that GBP group is owned by you, which would make you the primary owner, okay, in your agency dashboard at least. But it made you a primary owner in the actual listing. I don't know, just go in and edit the permissions for the group down to a manager and you should be just fine.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest as well.
Yeah. Should be
simple. You already, I think, answered this, but just to repeat it, can tools or email accounts cause suspensions?
Absolutely, 100%.
All right. You have a ranking question with ranking Google Business Profiles in multiple cities. Can you even do that?
No.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is where I think people really want multiple Google Business Profiles. And when you're advising businesses on how to expand, any tips you want to give out there?
Yeah, sure. So expansion, you can expand. You can absolutely expand. You can go through the guidelines and you can figure out how to expand properly. Joy, I think we've both done this for our franchise clients a lot. So one thing I like to really mention is how you can go about this. So the way I like to look at it is a service area-based business is going to rank usually within about 2 to 5 miles. I know we talked about this maybe changing, but the general rule of thumb is around 2 to 5 miles. If it's a storefront, it's going to be anywhere from 5 to 10 miles. Again, based on population density and how many competitors in the area. But let's go with the 2 to 5 on an SAB because most likely you're going to be doing SAB expansion. When you're doing an SAB expansion, what you do is you take a look at your rank fall off and divide the rank fall off in half.
What do you mean?
I figured you were going to ask me that question.
Rank fall off? What's rank fall off, Ben? Let's define it.
It's something it's a word I'm just making up today. No, actually,
got it. You heard it here, folks.
But no ranking fall off. So I mean, it's basically just states this is that you have this circular area, say for a service area based business, right? Just a circular map kind of ranking. If you take a look at the geo tools, it gives you that you were ranking, and you stopped ranking right around over here. It goes from like 3 or 4 to 0, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's your ranking radius. And then you take that and you cut it on. And that's why I call it the fall off, because the fall off is usually gradual. It's usually going to go from number 1 to 50, right? But in there's going to be like a 2s and 3s, etc. So I just cut it in half and put another little circle over top of it, basically. And that's why I call it the rank fall off. And then you can have another one and just keep on doing those circles in a sense.
Got it.
Is that how you do it?
Yeah, I usually look for where I didn't use that term for it, but yeah, I look where they don't rank and advise them there. But usually I wouldn't suggest like putting your office right where you stop ranking. It's like move it over a bit. So that way the circles don't overlap. You don't want the circles to overlap. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I have them overlap a little bit, but yeah. Sure. It works.
There is, this is a review violation question, I guess. We're a property management company. We used to encourage our properties to do raffles to get reviews. How scared should we be of the guidelines?
I would be up every single night wondering when all my reviews were going to go away.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I cannot tell you how many businesses I visit on a regular basis that incentivize reviews. So many do. I'm actually going to be talking to Claudia Tamina in a couple months. I think this is slotted for April. We're going to be talking about review violations because it's something that she's been really looking at recently when it comes to like lots of chains that are losing massive amounts of reviews all at once. So we're going to be going over some of those stories. For people that don't know, we actually have a podcast. I haven't really advertised it much, but the Expert's Guide to Local SEO, or I think it's Local SEO, the Expert's Guide, we actually have it set up now as a podcast on Apple and Spotify. This will be streamed there. So this, along with all of our future ones, you can check that out. And I think Claudia will be joining us in a couple months.
Cool.
But again, go to sterlingsky.ca/newsletter if you want to be updated on what's coming up make sure that you don't miss those. A question from Kim: do you think using third-party review sites like Podium, Whitespark, etc., are more trustworthy in Google's eyes versus sending the client just a review link? What are your thoughts on that?
The simple answer is no.
Okay.
Google does not. They do not take evidence from. They do not give higher scores to third-party pieces of software or people. And that's the general rule of thumb. So no, even though Podium is partially owned by Google, they're not going to trust it anymore. As a matter of fact, I've seen suspensions come from that direct platform.
Now, when soliciting reviews in general, is there best practices? Like I've heard people say like, oh, certain links are better than others, or like you don't want to send people the review link. Have you seen any patterns there?
No, and I'm going to just go ahead and dispel something right now because I know people are thinking about it. You can have a kiosk at a location and get reviews, even if it's on the same Wi-Fi network. And I'm saying it like this because a lot of people are like, oh, no, you can't do that. You'll get your reviews removed. BS.
The Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
That was true years ago. I don't know if it's still true. When they originally introduced the review filter, like this is many, many, many years ago, that was one of the patterns they looked at. So I remember mapping out all the reviews of mine that disappeared, and they were all at like Starbucks, McDonald's, places that had public Wi-Fi. Hotels were a big one. I had tons of those go missing. And I remember getting confirmation. I think this is actually something Joel Headley talked about at a Localu, talking about how car dealers in particular were doing this in mass and getting tons of reviews left on site via Wi-Fi. Right. No idea if they still do it, but I know
they don't.
Okay.
I had this confirmed when we were in Dublin, actually. Because I literally had just heard like 3 or 4 people, come back and say, and they even went on the Local Marketing Institute podcast, right? And they were like, no, that doesn't work anymore. You can't do it. And I was like, you know what? Forget this. I'm just going to go ask the horse's mouth about this one. And literally, it's like I was talking to one of our CMs about it, and all they could do was chuckle.
I will say I trust everything that Google says. I take it with a grain of salt. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that I can agree with that too.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of Googlers say a lot of things where I'm like, I don't think that's true. All right. Can I make my other Google business profile a sole proprietor and use the same phone number? So I think this is talking about practitioner listings where you have, let's say, for example, a doctor, and you got a profile for Dr. Ben Fisher, and Ben Fisher also works at a practice. So his practice has a listing. Is it a good or bad idea in that scenario to share the same phone number on 2 profiles?
No, you don't want to share the same phone number. Again, it's a local phone number. You want to have differentiation between the two. Absolutely. Yes. And you should also question why you have a practitioner and a practice license. By the way, GBP, if you're asking this question.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Does GBP ever call you out of the blue to verify things and leave a phone number to call back on if you don't answer?
Believe it or not, yes, they do. Yeah.
And is there any way to know if it's coming from Google? Like, because obviously there's
100%. Yes. So number one, they will leave you a message, and it'll be a 415 number.
415. Okay. Not India.
Not India, right? Exactly. If it's 0000001 plus, forget that. No, but seriously, you can go to Google support and you can actually get the list of phone numbers that they will call from. Of course, somebody could spoof that, but who's going to go to that kind of hard level to go after you? It's just not going to happen.
Okay, I'm going to throw a lot of questions at you pretty quickly here. So let's try and get through as many of these. Any insight if guidelines will support telehealth practitioners?
The answer is going to be generally no.
Yeah, I'd agree. I was like, the word tele is your problem. The fact that it's not in person. Yep. All right. This one's an interesting one. I'm in England. Our GBP has been disabled because of the address showing. As a service area business working from our home, I have limited paperwork to prove you exist. How much do I need?
At the very minimum, it will depend on your business, by the way, because if you're going to say I'm a real estate agent, there's a whole different set of rules that are going to apply. But in general, you are always going to have a utility bill of some kind. A utility bill can be something as simple as a cell phone. You might not have a business license, but as an SAB, you're going to have a business card. So you can use that. As an SAB, you can also, if you need to get verified, I mean, you don't have to get verified at your home address. You know what I mean? You can get verified in your service area. And your paperwork also must reflect the same thing as your service area.
Yeah, if they have their studio in their house, they certainly can show their address. You just have to really give a lot of proof that your studio is at your house and people show up there. I helped a home salon do this, where they had a salon actually in their home, and it's like they were allowed to show their PIN because they had clear permanent signage in their house. You would have like a walkthrough that you would go in, you go there, you get your hair done, whatever. So definitely possible, but you need a lot of evidence for that.
I did it for a locksmith,
Oh, interesting. Why would anyone go to a locksmith's house?
You know what? They had key duplication right in their living room.
That is a big stretch, but okay.
It worked.
Oh, this is killing me. Is there a tool that you recommend to back up reviews?
Not really.
Places Scout would be mine. If you
they back up reviews now.
Yeah,
really?
I think GMB API also does. They're another one.
We back it up for all of our clients in the insurance program and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, you can just back it up through the API, really.
If you report a non-existent storefront or virtual office, is your information seen by the business you report?
No, but.
Big but here.
Yeah. So technically, no, they don't. However, if they are slightly what's the word I'm looking for? Industrious, they will open up a lawsuit against a John or Jane Doe in your area, and they will go ahead and subpoena Google for that lawsuit. It doesn't cost much to do this, but you can subpoena Google, and Google has 30 days to release the data to you. And at that point, you would be really amazed at the amount of information that they give.
Everything. Yeah. Google doesn't give a crap about your privacy. That's what I'm going to say there. Exactly. Anything you send to Google could be publicly available at some point. So keep that in mind.
Actually, I don't know. I think I remember one. I remember when it even showed you a little, like a snapshot of browsing history and stuff like that too. So it's amazing the amount of data they will share.
This is where I'm like, Google is not your friend. I don't know.
That's right. Yep.
All right. Quick answer. Does posting on your GBP regularly help?
Yes, and
for sighing.
It's yes, and so the reason I sigh is because you should do all of the things inside of your Google business profile, but only a few of those things, we're talking 3 to 4 levers, are actually going to help, quote, help. And I have to put it in quotes with your local SEO. Focus on your organic. That is going to help your SEO the most. Focus on AI, because AI is where it's going to be. Your GBP, think of it more like a cornerstone piece of data and a repository for your reviews. Posting going to help you rank? Nope. Not going to. Hasn't for an extremely long time. And by the way, don't put in hashtags. Okay, thanks. But also no phone numbers, no websites, things like that against guidelines. But really, seriously, 90% of what you do in your GPP is not going to help you rank. Anybody who tells you otherwise probably either doesn't know or they're selling you something.
All right. I'm going to throw a few more questions at you. We've only got time for a few.
Okay.
I want quick answers for these, so try to answer in 30 seconds or less.
Got it.
What is the fastest way to get your Google business profile suspended without even realizing it?
Changing everything within 30 seconds.
Good answer. All right. What is the number one? What is the number one mistake that agencies make when it comes to reviews?
That's a wide question. That's not an enlightening question, because you got to quantify it.
Just one then.
All right. The thing that they do probably the most is they, well, beyond review gating, is to try to get too many reviews too fast.
Perfect. I think you've answered this one already, but I'm just going to get it on the record again.
All right.
Can paid competitors, I'm going to reword this. Can competitors pay somebody to take your listing down on Google?
Technically, yes.
All
I
right.
mean, sure, they could pay somebody to report you and fill out the redressal form properly. We get people hire us all the time to do it. But no, yes, of course, somebody can pay to take it down. Will they take it down? That's a whole nother story.
All right. Is buying reviews on Google ever safe?
Sure. Recommended? Hell no. It's against the law, number one. Number two, you can get those reviews removed. Not only will they remove those reviews, they can remove all your reviews.
All right, I got two more.
All right.
What is one thing that Google watches way more closely than people think?
Your behaviors and what you do
With your
around
Google account.
with your Google account. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And last question, which is a loaded question. I know it's going to be hard for you to pick a side. You have to pick a side here. All right. All right. Okay. What is more dangerous, fake reviews or fake engagement?
Fake engagement.
All right. And like, honestly, if anyone missed that story he shared earlier, that was gold. So fake engagement is definitely dangerous. All right, Ben, thank you so much for spending all this time talking to everyone today. I want to give you just a moment, tell people how they can find you. I will say we send lots of businesses to Steady Demand to help with reinstatements. They are fantastic. So I can't praise them enough for that. But Ben, where can people find you?
Yeah, people can find us on steadydemand.com. You can, of course, always find me on LinkedIn as well. You'll probably find me on a webinar here and there and out there. But yes, find us over steadydemand.com. Again, we're a full service local SEO agency specializing in GBP, LSA, and AI optimization.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ben. Until next time, make sure you guys subscribe to the Sterling Sky channel to get notified of all our future events.
All right. Thanks, Joy.